everybody, and welcome to Life Chats with Maggie and Bunny. I'm Maggie.
And I'm Bunny.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Today, we're going to talk about spiritual nudges.
Mm-hmm.
What are they? Do you get them? How do you know you get them?
Yeah.
How do you get more? Hmm.
Do you follow them? That's the
Do you
big one
follow them? Do
too.
you pay attention to them?
Yeah.
Well, we can start out by, I can give you an example of one that happened to me yesterday
Mm-hmm.
because I do try to live my life. And I say try because it is a practice. I try to live my life listening to those nudges.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe to the core of my being that everything that is supposed to find us does.
Mm-hmm.
The doors open. We just have to walk through. Well, yesterday, my husband and I decided we were going to go out for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
I love going out for breakfast. It's one of my favorite things to do. I would probably rather go out for breakfast than dinner
Mm-hmm.
because it's just, I like it. So the place that we wanted to go had a half an hour waiting time. So my husband doesn't like to wait. So no. So we left there. Then we went to the next place that was on my list of where would I like to go.
Mm-hmm.
That place where people were lined up out the door. So it's nope. Well, we're driving down the street, and in my soul, I was thinking, well, apparently we're supposed to be somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it happen as it's supposed to be. So we're driving down the street, and all of a sudden, I see this restaurant, just a little place I had never been. And I said to my husband, look at that place. Wonder what that's like. And he abruptly pulled the car in. We went in. And turns out it was a very small place there, so you couldn't help but overhear conversations that
Mm-hmm.
maybe weren't yours. So they had in this restaurant, they had a little book box where people could put books and a take and go and help yourself. So I overheard the waitress telling the man at another table that they were running low on books and they needed some more books.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for everybody who knows Bunny and I, we have books.
Yes, we do.
So when I was paying the bill, I told her, I said, I have some books. I said, I'm an author and I help people publish books. I have some books I'd like to donate to your box if you would like them. And she said, oh, yes. And then she calls over this other waitress and she said, she's writing a book and doesn't know how to get published. And I said, I wonder if I could help with that.
Yeah.
And I immediately knew maybe this is why we couldn't get into the restaurant that we wanted to go to,
Right.
because maybe I was supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of things happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do we notice them?
Absolutely right. And we started because we always talk a little bit beforehand before we record these. Um, and we are spirit led, so we say, "Hey, what do you want to talk about?" And I said to you, "Hey, I want to, maybe we'll talk about spiritual nudges." And you said, "Well, I wanted to talk about my story." So absolutely it works. And so I love when that happens, when both of us connect with in that way and we're actually on the same wavelength and the same frequency. And I have a story that is kind of similar to that, which
Mm-hmm.
happened well, I have a few stories, but in 2019, I believe it was 2019, where I was like not feeling great, but I was like, I do need to go grocery shopping and get some food, like we need. And I was like, I'll just get a few things. And I got in my vehicle and I started driving. And I love, for those of you who don't know, I live in Niagara Falls, Canada, so I love driving by the falls. Like that's one of my favorite things, and it just energizes me. I just love it. And so I was like started driving and I could have went straight to the grocery store, but I was like, no, drive by the falls. Like I got a little like drive by the falls, like a feeling, like let go this way. And so I was like, okay. And as I was driving by the falls, as I was getting closer, I got like kind of like a nudge of pull in the parking lot because I did have a parking pass. So I was like, okay, I'll pull in the parking lot. And then it was like, get out and walk over to the falls. Actually, now I'm thinking, I think it was like in maybe January or February of 2020. And I was like, because I would take selfies every day. And so it said, you haven't taken your selfie today. And what better place to take it than in one of your favorite places in the planet? And so I was like, okay. And so I walked across the bridge. I went into the Table Rock center where it is, the visitor center, and I was just going to take the picture inside. And I was like, no, go outside. Go right up to the brink. Yeah, that is my favorite place in the world, is to stand right at that brink. And so I was like, okay, fine. And I went, I took my picture, and I was like, okay, I can go now. And as I was leaving, I overheard somebody doing a Facebook Live. And she was a visitor, and she was talking about the falls on her Facebook Live. And some of the questions that the people were asking her, she didn't know the answers, but I did. So me being me and informing people and connecting with people, I started to share her with her the answers. And as we talked, I found out that her and her husband were on their honeymoon driving all around. They had been in Quebec, they'd been all over Canada, and they were driving and they were going to be heading back home. And I had my little Canada mittens with me, so I gifted her those. And then she wound up sending me a plaque that she had at her house. So we kind of became friends from this one encounter, which again, it was just those small little steps of a nudge of like,
Hmm.
drive this way, pull in the parking lot. And so like saying yes, like following those nudges and saying yes. Like you said, even the same thing with you where go
Yeah.
to this restaurant. Oh, that one's not. So go to this restaurant. And then you were like, oh, maybe we'll just find somewhere new to go. So I want to ask you, how do you get the nudges? Like, what does that experience feel or look like with you?
For me, it's just kind of like a feeling in the gut of my stomach, like in the pit of my stomach, and knowing.
Yeah,
It's just a knowing. It's like I don't hear a real voice.
right?
It's just, it's like somebody's talking to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it that it's the voice of my higher self.
Right.
Because the one thing that I learned a long time ago that I think sometimes people get confused about, because we're human beings,
Mm-hmm.
we think that we're human beings working at being spiritual. But the
Right.
reality of it is that we are spiritual beings
Mm-hmm.
working in a human body.
Yes.
It's not the other way around. Like, we're not striving to be spiritual.
Right.
We are created spiritual beings
Right.
living in a human body. So,
Yes.
100% of the time, I can be a spiritual being.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my humanness gets in the way of that.
Right.
So, when I'm not tuned into the nudges, it's kind of like I'm operating a little more in the human side.
Yes.
But if I am living fully in my spiritual being,
Mm-hmm.
it just comes natural to me. And so I started myself with a little ritual of when I wake up in the morning, I just say, hey, good morning. Whether it's good morning, God, whether it's good
Yeah.
morning, spirit, whether it's good morning, universe. And I just say, I'm partnering with you today. What are we going to do today?
Right.
My life is open for you.
Right.
Allow yourself to come through me and take me where you want me to go.
Yeah.
And
I
I fully 100% believe that sometimes I'm just in the right place at the right time for the right thing.
right.
You know, there was one time that I was driving down the highway
Mm-hmm.
in a, it was a 6 lane highway
Mm-hmm.
altogether on the QEW.
Yep.
And there was a woman walking down the middle
Mm-hmm.
section of the highway. She would have had to go through traffic to get to that middle.
Right.
And anybody who knows highways, it's not an easy feat to do in the middle of
Yes.
the day. And our eyes locked. I
Mm.
felt my soul touched her soul. And I truly believe that that woman was planning to complete suicide that day.
Right.
Our souls connected while traveling 120 kilometers down the
Mm.
highway.
Yeah.
And I felt that my eyes connected with hers. Now, in reality, no, they probably didn't,
Right.
but on a soul level, they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt at that point it was my mission to speak to her soul and say, no, 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 today is not the day for that.
Right.
This is not what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as I was driving until I could get off at the next exit and call the police, as I was driving, I was virtually talking to her higher self and
Right.
saying, okay, this might be your plan today, but this is not your destiny. This is
Mm-hmm.
not what you're intended to do. And when I got off the highway and did call the police, I found out that a number of other people had called as well.
Right.
And they did get that woman off the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Did I ever see her again? No.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that my spirit wasn't in the right place at the right time.
Right.
And another story is there was a friend who was going to come visit me one day. And she phoned me up in the morning and she said, I can't come today because I don't know why, but I just have this feeling inside me that I'm not supposed to come.
Yeah.
And turned out there was a truck rollover on the highway where
Mm.
she would have been had she left her house to come to visit me that day. Did that intuitive hit, did that nudge keep her from being in an accident?
Right.
I think it might have.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to pay attention to those things because our higher self knows things that we don't know.
Yeah.
On a spiritual level, there's information always passing through. Just,
Yeah.
if you look at it like we talk about the information highway with satellites and
Yeah.
all that stuff that you can see in the real world, I believe that stuff happens in the spiritual world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And everything is connected, and there's like this
Yeah.
highway of information passing through.
Yeah.
And I just need to connect to it
Absolutely.
and go to what's for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard some I believe it's Anita Moriani in her NDE in the book Dying to Be Me, I think is what it's called. She described that when she experienced her NDE, she was shown a tapestry with strings and shown how the tapestry and the connections between, and it makes this like tapestry by doing that. But again, it's not something that our ego or our humanness or whatever has to deal with, thankfully, because I don't know how we would manage all those things. But we're asked to answer the calls, the nudges that
Yeah.
that happen in our life. Now I will say that also you brought up higher self and knowing is like sometimes I've understood this as a game board, right? So if you think of Earth and like all of us as a on a game board, and our higher self is above the game board and can see every move, everything that is gonna, and so can guide us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now I will say this that are for me, my belief in the higher self nudges and spiritual nudges, and you can let me know if you have this experience as well, is it also still holds our free will. So it doesn't say you have to do this.
Right.
It's more like here's an option for you. Do you
Yep.
want to do this? And it is true that I know too that when I follow the spiritual nudges, very often I can't see where that's going to take me like in the end.
Right.
But as long as I say yes, I'm going to get another nudge and another nudge and another nudge and
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I do go, "Oh, I'm not going to choose that." And then, who knows, but I
and
do
and
believe
life goes on.
yeah,
I think that's how it happens is life goes on. And just
right.
like with yesterday, we could have chosen a different restaurant to go
Right.
to. And the encounter that I had with this lady who was wondering where she could get a book
Hmm.
published and how she could get that to happen, that encounter may not have happened yesterday,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that encounter wouldn't have happened somewhere else
Right.
in with my life,
Hmm.
or maybe the universe just would have sent someone else her way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be a have to do. We
Yes.
still have free will
Hmm.
because as human beings, we come to this earth and we have been given free will.
Right.
Creator gave us free
Hmm.
will to make good choices, free will to make bad choices,
Yeah.
free will to make uncertain choices,
Yes.
neither good nor bad.
Right.
But It's kind of like when you go down roads, there's more than one way you can turn.
Right. Yep.
And I think that's what this is all about. And some of it comes into play through life review as well. I
Right.
believe that when people pass away, they have a life review and then they see how that game board played out, so
Hmm.
to speak, or how those roads matched up,
Right.
you know? And I think that's pretty cool when you think of it,
Yeah, for
that
sure.
even though certain things we might not understand now, but if later you're going to see how that all played out,
Hmm.
how cool is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree because like I believe that too in the life review is where in my belief, my understanding currently is that you get shown the impact you made on everybody,
Yeah,
including like, so if, like you said, like that woman on the highway, you would then be shown the rest of the story. So like
right,
if she went on to like help somebody, like, and or something like that,
right.
or whatever the case may be, you would be shown all of that
Yeah.
impact and all those things. And I do sort of believe it's like a choose your own adventure book too, where like if you made a quote unquote mistake, like you didn't follow a nudge or something, that you can go back and relive that timeline or and make that other choice and see
Mm-hmm.
how that would have worked out as well, to see sometimes too, um we think like when we have a choice, say for example, if you wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer and then you chose one of those paths, so you chose to be the lawyer and you're like, I always wondered what it would be like to be a doctor, because I do believe in our infinite soul that can, come and go and play, quote unquote, play in this game. Our higher self can go, well, you want to see? And they'll drop you back to that same point and you can like play out the life as if
Mm-hmm.
you had been the doctor instead.
And I think also it's to learn lessons.
For sure. Yeah.
And so if during this time I didn't learn the lesson that I needed to learn,
Hmm.
it'll come around again.
Yep.
And I'll get another opportunity
Yes.
to learn a lesson.
Yeah.
I'll get another opportunity to make a different choice
Yeah.
and see how that plays out.
Right.
So, yeah, I feel so privileged that right now I get to, and I say that in quotation
Yeah.
marks for those people who are listening, I get to live this life
Right.
because it hasn't been my whole life that I
Hmm.
have been following my
Yep.
intuitive spiritual path. No, there were times in my life that I did all the things that I had to do to raise my children,
Right.
to work two jobs and
Right.
that kind of stuff. But I feel so privileged that now at this stage of my life, I get to do this.
Yeah.
I get to wake up every day and say, hey, spirit, what are we doing today?
Yeah.
Hey, universe, what kind of adventure are we going on?
Yeah.
And just be open to whatever happens.
Right.
You know, to me, that's a huge, incredible gift.
Now, you do talk about this, so it brings up a question. Like a question came in my head. Do you have any advice for people who maybe are raising kids and having to do the whatever things, how they can add a little bit more of following those nudges?
I think that you can add that by little bits and pieces.
Right.
So maybe you have to work a traditional job,
Hmm.
but you can work a traditional job your way,
Right.
or you can have maybe one day a month that you
Mm.
get to truly live out the life that you want to be living and just say that day, today
Yeah.
I'm going to do it this way. It doesn't matter if it's for the whole entire day
Hmm.
or if it's just for a little bit of the day.
Yeah.
You
Like kind
know,
of
it
having that yes days,
Yeah,
like where
and
I'm
it
just
might
gonna say
even just
yes.
be when you're doing the task that you have to do. Like maybe you have to go grocery shopping, but you can intuitively go grocery shopping
Right.
and say, Spirit, I'm going grocery shopping now. But while I'm grocery shopping, you can choose to place people in my life
Right.
that you believe need to touch, that
Yeah.
either I need to touch them or they need to touch me.
Right.
And you can go to your workplace the same way.
Hmm.
You can shine your light however you need to shine your light.
Yeah.
And however you can do that, you can choose that.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to give up your whole traditional life.
Yeah.
No, you
Yeah.
don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would all be living like monks and Buddhas and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff if that was the choice that we had, but we don't
Right.
all have that choice,
Hmm.
nor do we all want to do that.
Right.
But you get to choose how you do live your life.
Yeah.
So if you want to be more open to seeing those spiritual nudges, just choose it
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And listening
without
to them.
limitations.
Yeah, listening to them, saying yes to them. I know that's the big thing, saying yes to them, and you'll get more, like for
Yeah.
sure, every
Like
single time.
sometimes when you say yes to them, it seems weird to you.
Hmm.
When the universe tells you to buy flowers for a complete stranger, it seems a little weird to you.
Hmm.
When it tells you to do something that's, you know,
A
not
little
within your comfort
uncomfortable. Yeah.
zone, to talk to a stranger at the bus terminal,
Yeah.
it sometimes is outside of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
But when you practice that a little bit at a time, it,
Magic happens.
magic happens. It could just be for the ride home from work one day, just do it in a spiritual kind of way that instead of going the usual route, I'm going to turn corners differently
Right.
and see what happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. That sounds so fun, so exciting. We would love to hear any stories if somebody does choose to
Yeah.
follow some spiritual nudges, or if they want more advice on how to follow those. What do they sound like? What do they look like? Reach out to us at ataboveandbeyond.com or our email address at ataboveandbeyond@gmail.com. You can also write to us, and if you want to be a guest, we're always looking for guests. And we do have a couple more exciting guests coming up by the end of the year as well, that we're going to share with you. So looking forward to that. Making sure that you're liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all of that
It'd
stuff.
be nice to have a whole um, podcast of magic moments that
Magic moments.
happen. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, like I want to be like there's the glitch in the Matrix. I forget what they call her, Miss Matrix or something like that on TikTok, where she just talks about glitches. And I would love for magic moments, like if we could have like an entire thing where we were just reading people's magic
Yeah.
moments that happened in
So,
their
hey,
life.
that could be it. We
Yeah,
would open that up to the universe. Have
yeah,
people, you send in your magic moments,
yeah.
and we will have a whole segment talking about them and listing them.
Yes,
We would even
absolutely,
have you as a guest to come on.
absolutely.
And if we could have bam, 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 bam,
Yeah,
it could just show people how much magic there really is in the universe.
yeah,
I always say to people, I would watch the news more if they showed me more of the goodness in the world
right,
instead of just all the tragedies.
right.
Because I fully 100% believe there is more goodness in the world
Me too.
than there are tragedies.
Me too.
Unfortunately, our news media doesn't
Is
like sharing the magic as much.
Yeah, well, it's because it's sensational. The fear stuff keeps you watching, right? So,
Yeah,
and that's the, but yeah, yeah, definitely there's way more podcasters out there like us too that are sharing the
yeah,
positive things, and sharing the good stories and sharing ways that people can enrich and enlighten their life. And I know for sure talking, just putting more love out into the world is my mission, and so
and
and
I
into the
love
world.
it when this happens to me, and it does happen
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And Bunny, I
Yeah.
call people up and say, "Hey, you won't believe what happened to me today." Well, yeah,
Yes.
you probably will, but
But it's
I don't
always
keep
fun and
quiet about
exciting.
it.
Yeah.
I don't keep it secret,
Right.
because to me, no, this stuff has to be shared. When these
Yeah.
magic moments happen, we need to share them,
Yeah.
because it just shows people they do keep happening.
Exactly. And
So
the
it's
more we'll get into that frequency, so we will see more even in our own life as we're like if you're
yeah,
sharing with me, I'll see them in my life too. I get to
yeah.
be on that same
And it gets me so excited.
frequency.
And it's kind of like I say, hey, universe, do you accept the challenge to give me
Yeah.
more?
Yeah. And the universe, that's the thing. They talk about that in so many different, like Abraham Hicks and Bashar and all these. They're like, challenge the universe to show you the magic.
Yeah.
Like, and then when you see the magic, like if you that you could take, like, say I want to see 3 items in the next 24 hours, and however they get presented to you, say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And
It's
you'll
like,
be
look at us, buddy,
surprised.
when we were at an event
Yeah.
last weekend and 4 dimes popped out of your
Yeah.
bag from nowhere. Like
Off the
four
top of my
dimes.
bag. Like I put it down and it flung out 4 dimes on the floor, and I was like, "What?" Like now mind you, I did say, Spirit, could you make those hundreds? No, just kidding. Like, but hey, you can manifest all of that stuff, and the magic does happen. It's constantly happening in your life. And like Albert Einstein even said it, and he was a scientist, but you can live as if everything is a miracle or as if nothing is a miracle. It's your
Right.
choice, right? So
And I choose to live that everything is a miracle,
everything, yeah.
because then I get to see more.
Right.
I'm like
Exactly.
a little kid at Christmas time when it comes to the universe sending me signs and wonders and miracles.
Yep.
It's, I may have outgrown the magic of Santa Claus,
Yeah.
but no, I have
Yeah.
not outgrown the magic of the universe.
Right.
Not at all. And I think for the rest of my days here, I will continue looking for it.
Me too. That's the highest excitement for my soul.
Yeah. So, everybody, have a great day.
Yep.
Make sure, look for the magic.
Yes.
And if you want to, tell us about it.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye for now.